key. You ready? Right. Hello and welcome to our Journalism and Media Week podcast here at Leeds Trinity University, brought to you by final year broadcast students. We're here with you every day to review the week. I'm Hannah McDonough.
I'm Matt Guy.
And I'm Alexandra Pereira.
Today is the third day and its focus has very much been on a technology base. We've had talks from LTU alumni, Kane Fulton, who's a community engagement manager at Tech North.
So tech was something that you can do yourself. You can sign up to websites, you can try things out, you can buy laptops, you can review them yourself.
A workshop from Samsung, who took us into a virtual reality. We'll have more on this later. Also, we had an ex-police officer and an investigative journalist, Neil Smith.
I love finding out things. So even if I haven't got a client that's paying us to research somebody, I'll be watching the telly and think, where do they live? Who do they live with? What businesses do they run? How much are they really worth? And just go online and just find that information just for myself. It's just being inquisitive.
And finally, game developer Gorm Lai.
I really like the challenge. So everything, because it has to be interactive, it has to run 60 frames per second all the time. So you have a lot of constraints that make it really interesting to work with as a medium, I think.
So let's start with Kane Fulton, who kicked off the third day in the Mary Holloway Lecture Theatre. Kane graduated with a master's degree from Leeds Trinity back in 2013 and is now a communication engagement manager at Tech North. Alex, you were in the talk with Kane. What stood out for you?
The fact that he's gone into such a niche sort of journalism, because when you think tech journalism, you think, oh, it's sort of like, it's intriguing in a sense. And like one of the questions that was asked, which I thought was very, very relevant, was about shorthand. Someone asked, do you think shorthand is still useful today? And he said, it is useful. And he said he kind of wished he had a standard of 100 words per minute or 120 words per minute, because he struggles sometimes to transfer back. But then he said, realistically, if you're going to be a tech journalist, it's not really required. And another interesting thing he said was about how, like, if you work in London, you don't really need to drive. And he was like, oh, you just Uber everywhere. I think a lot of people picked up on the fact and were rejoicing, going, yes, I don't have to learn how to drive if I want to be a journalist.
Well, all I'll say on that is there's no Uber in London anymore.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think what I kept thinking about the whole way through the talk was, obviously, when you're a journalist, you're always waiting for that breaking news story. Exactly. But when it comes to like technology, you always know what's going to be. Well, not always know what's going to be coming out. Like I wouldn't, because obviously I don't do anything to do with technology. But if you're into that like sort of niche market, you know, he even talks about what is going to be coming out soon. So for me, that would be quite like dull. Like you know, you never got that like excitement. But obviously, you know, for maybe someone that is into that, it is always quite exciting.
Yeah.
Like, because is the breaking news story then, oh, this is going to be coming out in like 10 years' time? Would you think that's the breaking news story? And also, like you said, how he moved from out of London and has brought it up north. And I think he talked to you about that, didn't he, Alex?
He really stressed the importance that, like, if you do want to be a journalist, whether it be tech, broadcast, whatever, you don't have to stay in London to be successful. He was sort of saying, like, since moving his business and stuff up to the north, like the north sort of thriving in that sense.
Yeah, he said something earlier, didn't he?
Collaboration is really big up here. People are really inclined to work together. They're not as guarded. In London, everyone can be a little bit on the defensive side, worry if they're going to nick each other's secrets. But you go to the events up here, and there are tons of them. You just have to look at Yorkshire Digital. The website's got a calendar on there with all the different technical meetups, all the different networking events, and people, when they travel, it's really good because you have people coming from further afield. Wakefield will go to Leeds, Leeds will go to Hull, and we just need more of that, more cross-border collaboration.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting with Kane as well. He's also, as you said, an LTU alumni. So that, like, with all the students that were there today listening to him and there in the lecture theatre, it's like inspiring, isn't it? He's gone to London.
Yeah.
He's done work. He's gone straight out of his degree as well. Done a master's on top of that, of course. So it's inspiring that he has been an example, like many others have this week, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
That he's come from a background that we're in. And those that were listening were in, and he's made a career out of it. It's really quite interesting.
I respect the fact that he was like, you know, I've gone down to London, realised it didn't work for me, like, come back to the north, seen what's going on, see if it'll improve my prospects, and for him it has, so fair play to him, really.
Yeah, my type of boy saying it don't work down south.
Same.
And while Kane was on, we obviously had Samsung at the other side of the university taking some students into a virtual reality. Matt, you were there at this. What was that like?
It's quite interesting. They focused on two things really. There was 360-degree cameras, which I've never really thought about before, and virtual reality. So the 360-degree cameras, they talked about the 4 editions that Samsung have had in the past, and they even gave an exclusive of one that's going to be coming out. It was checking whether he was allowed to say it first, though, given that it was coming from higher up. It's quite the 360-degree cameras that they were talking about, how because this is journalism and media week, so for those media students who were there, they were talking about how you would take it. Where would you use 360-degree cameras? People were saying football games, basketball games, going on holiday, that sort of thing. So they showed us videos. There was a couple that went down a zip line. They were there wearing them on helmets, because it's attached to helmets, bikes, anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's really showing how it can be used, and to what aspect it can be used, because it is quite expansive. And then the virtual reality, they rather sold their USP, which was that you fit your phone into it, which other ones don't. But they let people try it out. So we all know what virtual reality is like. You put on these goggles. There was one lad sat at the front on a chair, and he was there playing, I think it was a zombie game. So he was there defending himself from zombies with a gun, and he was there with the handle that they give you with the goggles. And he was there. You could physically see him just shooting and hear it, because the speakers come out of the phone. And it was like, you're just there, just watching him. You can't see it. It's really quite funny watching him. Like, he doesn't have a clue what we're doing. And then there was also another girl, which was she was allowed to stand on stage with the Cirque du Soleil, so she could see all the fans in the crowd, and she could stand there and watch the act performing. So it was really showing how expansive the new technology is, really.
Yeah, and as you were saying there, you could see what he was doing, and I saw that as well, because I think someone put it on a Snapchat.
Yeah, so we put it on at Yorkshire Voice Snapchat, and I was taking pictures and putting it on Twitter as well, which is at Journalism Week. Also, with that, we were linking between the Snapchat and the Twitter all day. So there's pictures on there of the Samsung guys. There's pictures of those that were trying it out. So yeah, it was really quite interesting with the virtual reality. I've never experienced it before. Have either of you?
Yeah. No, I don't really think it's something for me, because I feel like virtual reality, when it first came out, was so hyped up. And for me, when things get hyped up, like, I know Game of Thrones is a TV show, but it's so hyped up that it just turns me off completely from watching it or wanting to use the virtual reality goggles. It drives me mad when people overhype things up.
See, I'm the complete opposite, because once I get that hype, well, except from about Game of Thrones, I'll never watch Game of Thrones, but once I get that hype about something, I've got to try it for myself, because I've just got to see if I like it. I think I would like some of the virtual reality stuff, like the Cirque du Soleil, because I'm really into stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, like, I've known people to do them, and they feel like they're on, like, a roller coaster, and I just don't think I could do something like that. I think I would literally be, like, grabbing it out of my head and be like, no, like, that is not for me.
There is at Alton Towers as a virtual reality ride. I've forgotten what it used to be called, but it just used to be an open-air ride, and now it is open-air, but you're wearing these goggles, so instead of travelling around some little trees, etc., you're now travelling in space, and you can feel the wind brushing through you as you fly past Jupiter, that sort of thing. It's great. Yeah.
I mean, I don't like roller coasters the best of the time, and I think that would definitely put me off. Definitely increase that fear of roller coasters even more.
Yeah.
Well, this afternoon, Neil Smith kicked off our sessions with his talk about his career in investigative journalism. Neil was a police officer before going into investigating, but is now head of investigations and research at Quarry. He showed us how easy it is to access information online. Matt, you talked to him earlier. What did he have to say?
Yeah, I talked to him as well. It was rather quite interesting. I asked him one specific question that I wanted a key answer to, which was, how easy is it for you to find information on anyone you want? And this is what he said.
Really easy. Very rarely do we struggle to find anything on anyone.
And Alex, you sat in on some of the talk. What did you think to him?
Oh, it freaks me out how much you can access over the internet. Like, I tried that Find My Past thing out, tried to see if I could get a family tree going, and it was weird because it picked up on me and my sister, but no one else in the family. I was just like, oh, it's so weird. Like, it has your date of birth, where you were born, the area. It just freaks me out that, like, in this day and age that we live in, like, you can just access so much on the internet, and you don't even realise.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I sat in like most of the talk, and the one that stood out for me was the big map that he got up, and you could literally pinpoint a street or an area, and it will come up with so many different like social medias, and he could literally just click on that, get into it. That was it. Like he could just that was how easy it was. But then what also interests me is the fact that they use it when like big, like say like a terrorist attack happened.
Yeah.
So he mentioned the Manchester attack. So what they did is they went on, they saw who were posting things, and then they could use that as a witness, or they could use that as a photo for a media outlet. Instead of when people were tweeting them, you've got like the Sun tweeting you like, oh, follow me back so I can DM you about this, or ITV News, or anybody, whereas they could just go in, take it out, give it to someone, and it's just that easy. And that is scary because they could do that with me, with either of you, and that is just like quite terrifying.
I found it quite funny as well. It was kind of similar to that with people putting stuff on like pictures and videos. Was a few years ago, remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? So people had been claiming for insurance, as they do with certain situations. Anything could have happened. They're saying they've got bad shoulder, bad neck, so they can't work, or they need a compensation payout, that sort of thing. Well, people were putting videos, as he was saying, on Facebook, on Instagram, putting videos of them tipping a massive bucket of water and ice. Now, I'd never triggered in my mind before. They've just shown their insurance company that they're not actually injured.
But just imagine that, you know, you've not even thought like that, and then all of a sudden this investigations company has just said, see ya, you're not getting your insurance anymore. Like, you know what I mean? You're a scammer.
Exactly. It's absolutely crackers how much they can find out. You have to think about literally every single possible way your information can be used when you're online.
Literally.
And the fact was, it was all legal as well. Everything he was doing was legal.
Yeah, that's what scares me, because he kept saying, you know, you can't even mention like data protection, because you have yourself put this data out there, because obviously it's the thing of, you know, once you click that button that says share this information with other sites, you're then sending it to that site and pays for it, and if you type in your name, it'll all come up right there. You know, it came up with people's email addresses, the phone numbers. That scared me. The phone numbers, imagine so whenever I get an unknown call now, I'm just gonna be like, who are you? I'm scared.
Those numbers freak me out, because it's like it could be anyone, like it could be your dad, or it could just be someone going, you have like PPI or something. Like, it's mental.
Literally. And then his Facebook account, he got his Facebook account up on this other account, and it was completely private. Nothing, no pictures, no friends. Well, he also has friends, but they're private. No about me or anything. And then he did his wizardry all of a sudden, and all these pictures came up from other people's accounts, and you just thought, oh, so it's not just your own privacy you've got to think about, it's everybody else's. Yeah,
and similar to that, even if it's not social media, say you've bought something online from any company, literally any, and the delivery company says, do you want this delivered at home? And you're like, no, I'm going to be at work that day, I can't get it delivered to home, I'll get it delivered to work. Well, there you go, again, you've given away your details of where you work.
Yeah, exactly, because what he did as well is he got up, he asked what the postcode was for this university, and literally he had 900 results, and it was going through, and some of the names I knew, and I was like, I know them, and I was like, oh my goodness, you could actually get anyone.
But then, like, if it's still deliveries, you're also thinking, God, they spend a lot, don't they?
Yeah.
I think, like, with social media, just everyone posts their life on there. Yeah. Well, I'm prone to do it. You guys probably do it as well. But, like, it's not just posting on social media. You put your location, put who you're with. Like, on Snapchat, you can do that, a geographical map or whatever, and locate your friends. It's just bizarre and weird.
Yeah, the funny thing all was with it made me think of a TV programme, I don't know if you've seen it, The Hunted or Hunted.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
So, well, they've done celebrity versions as well. I've seen one where they had Jamie Liang and what's the other guy?
Spencer Matthews.
Spencer Matthews. Yes, they were trying to escape, they're all there undercover, making sure they don't post anything on social media, trying to get up to Scotland to hide. And I asked Neil how similar his job is to The Hunted.
It's what is possible in a world where everything is connected, but it's very unreal in relation to any inquiries that actually happen nowadays, where they go and instantly can access CCTV or instantly access phone records. Those things don't really happen. The sort of things that we access are publicly available information, so we would be looking at maybe apps you've got on your phone that tell us your location, maybe looking at databases where they buy a lot of data from sites that you've signed up for, and that would tell us where you live and who you're linked to. So Hunted is it's a well-produced program, but elements of it are very fictitious. In the police, I had done a response car course and a firearms course, and outside of being the getaway driver on a bank raid, I wasn't really employable. So I did lots of surveillance for insurance companies, fell into finding information online to get journalists finding information to send very corrupt, very dodgy, awful politicians to prison or to The Hague as being war criminals. Then it is my pleasure to help them.
And again, at the other side of the university, Gorm Lai talked to students about what life is like as a game development. Gorm is an experienced independent game developer, a video game developer and virtual reality pioneer. He now lives in Leeds, where he runs a games development company, Kotori Studios. So Matt, you caught up with him as well just before his chat.
Yep.
What did he have to say for himself?
Well, I asked him where his love for tech and gaming came from, and this was his answer.
Probably my interest started kind of like in the 90s, and then I got into VR around the year 2000. So I think it's going to be kind of like a temporary technology, kind of placeholder technology, until what kind of like popularly is called AR is going to come in, so augmented reality. So basically you've seen like the HoloLens or the Google Glasses, and kind of like a nicer version where you can overlay virtual things on reality. Because VR is really great, but it isolates you. Very solitary experience. Even if you're in the same room with other people, it's very hard for them to share what you're experiencing. The video games industry is kind of like an industry that thrives on hype and kind of like sometimes fulfilled, sometimes unfulfilled promises. So I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of stuff. For VR, the next big thing is going to be locomotion. How do we move in VR? Because it's still kind of ability to move our hands, but how do we walk around? And we all have like little finite spaces. So that problem is yet to be solved. Right now, people are using the current technology is kind of like teleportation. So you teleport around the levels by pointing and then teleporting, and then you appear over there, which works kind of okay, but it's very awkward and not very natural. And then they have like these kind of like treadmills that you can walk on, but these are like huge things that you stand on. So it doesn't really work either, I think, because who wants that in their home?
So Alex, you also were sat in the talk with him. Like, what did you think to him?
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting, and he was talking about apps and app development and going on the App Store and Google Play and stuff, and he was saying something along the lines of, like, last year, if you were developing a game and you wanted to put it on these app stores, you'd get around $30,000 for it, and he said this year, like, you get around $20,000, and you think that's a lot of money, but then if there's like say 4 to 6 people in a team, for instance, dividing that between them isn't really a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's why then now games have got like a lot of advertisement on them,
which
annoys me.
Yeah, free to play games that have got add-ons inside. They're selling them all. Yeah. So extra lives, extra time, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So and you just think, oh, it's only £1.99, but then once you put that like money into it, you think this is an investment now.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just get rid of this game. Like, I have actually now paid for this game. So then you've got it, and then that's how they become addictive, really, isn't it? It's quite clever, actually.
Just look at like Candy Crush, and the whole Candy Crush franchise is so addictive.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing that got me with Gorm was it saying that virtual reality, we heard it in that clip there, it's only temporary. He says augmented reality is coming into it.
Yeah.
That was something that got me, because you see all these adverts and all this stuff for virtual reality trying to sell it to you as the big next thing. Lee says it's not, and this guy's an expert, let's be honest.
Yeah, he is. He is an expert. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. My music's not working. It's not working.
So carry on.
Yeah, just carry on. We've got technical difficulties like we do every day. But tomorrow we've got Declan Wilson from the BBC and Laura Potts from the BBC Online. We have Melanie Green, a PR manager from L'Oreal, and Emma Morris from Loose Women. Ooh. Thank you for joining us for our review on the third day of Journalism and Media Week. Join us tomorrow with a new set of undergraduate broadcast journalists to review a final review of the week. You can follow us on Twitter at Journalism Week or with our hashtag LTJMW, or like our Facebook page Yorkshire Voice, and even follow us on Snapchat at Yorkshire Voice. Thank you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, there we are.
Bang on 20 minutes.
And I know I'm doing it.
That worked. that was good. I kept looking at the clock in the Gorm thing 'cause